So welcome back to the garden. Haven't been on here for about a month or so. So the flowers at the minute are looking amazing. This is kind of my rose bed, which is intermingled with lots of cosmos and lots of annuals, and it's kind of like a mecca for bees really. I just bung whatever I like in there. You can see things have got a bit messy, but I kind of like it like that. And it also provides a bit of shade for the greenhouse, which is really valuable when it gets hot here. So this is gorgeous. This is a new one. It's called Nicotiana, and it's oh gosh, I can't remember what its name is now, but really beautiful pink and white flowers. I've got one that's lime green that's a bit further back, but essentially in here, just loads of different annuals, a few perennials. There's some aster and some echinacеas and some poppies that come up, and there's a clematis at the back. But it's just kind of a messy area that I just have all sorts of things in. So over to the beds. Let's just start back here. So this, you will have seen from my other videos, this is the pea and bean wigwam. Now, I've kind of made a bit of an error because I stupidly assumed the peas would be finished by the time I plant the beans out, which of course hasn't happened, and it means that these are the runner beans here. You can see this bright green leaf, but they're not actually doing very well because they've got to fight against the light and space to grow. But the peas are, well, the mange tout peas certainly. These are mange tout on this side. You can see they've gone over now. They were absolutely delicious when they're in their prime, really early. Eat them really early and they're really nice, but these have gone over. So I'll probably be cutting those down at some point. These are the petit pois, and these are still going strong, so that's great. They can stay there. And then obviously you can see at the back I've got a bunch of sweet peas. So I've kind of crammed almost a bit too much, I think, on this section. I've got some sunflowers there as well. And then back here, this is, I had some pak choi here that previously you would have seen, that all bolted, and so it's now been replaced by courgettes, which are doing really well. It's been really hot in Sussex where I am, but for the last week we've had some really huge deluges of rain, and that's really helped because, as you know, you've seen before, I have this wonderful oak in my garden. I'm surrounded by this less wonderful neighbour's hedge that is refusing to be cut. Less said about that the better. But essentially these beds here, the moisture is really lacking, so I'm having to water every day, and obviously at the moment there is a hose pipe ban here, so it's quite difficult to maintain that. So rain is very much appreciated. And actually we've had, like I said, we've had quite a few downpours. And then on the end of this bed I've got garlic and some red onions. Now the red onions have started to bolt, but they are still quite a nice size. I don't really like them too big because I don't use a lot of them. You know, when you're making a salad or something, I don't use very much, so it's quite nice to have a small one. But you can see the garlic, if I scrape, this is a good one to show you. If I scrape back here, you can see the size of that bulb. That's looking lovely. And they can probably stay in the ground for a little bit longer. They are getting rust now, but I'll leave them in there probably for another few weeks before I pull them. And that will be some much needed space for some kale, which you'll see in a minute. I've got that growing in pots at the moment because I haven't got space. And then over here I've got, these are the aubergines that were sown inside. These are outside now, and actually they do really well out here because the weather's been great. You can see there's lots of flowers appearing here. They're all the same variety. It's a variety called Black Beauty. I did have some other ones, but they failed. You can see there's quite a bit of, I've got quite a lot of little pests on here. I have to keep an eye on that. Hopefully they'll get looked after by another kind of pest. I don't really use any sprays or anything, so I kind of hope that one insect will predate on another and it will look after itself. But you can see they're looking really healthy. I'm very happy with those. They get fed once a week with seaweed or tomerite, and they just sit in pots. Those big 5, I don't know what size pot they are, 20 litres maybe, but big pots, and they basically sit in that all summer. And then some self-seeded oregano. This is just about to burst into flower. So once it has flowered, I'll leave some for the bees, but I'll hack it back and that'll reflower again. And that just comes back every year. And then behind that I've got broad beans. Now these, I top them off to stop the black fly, and that actually has worked to a certain extent. You can see there's some on there now. They don't really do too much damage to the actual seed pod. If you top them, you're less likely to get them. You can see the seed pods here. See if I can open one for you. A bit difficult with one hand. There you go. Absolutely lovely, gorgeous beans. They're so yummy to eat raw, actually. I'll just have that one now. Yeah, so they've been great. Absolutely fantastic for salads. A little bit of borage, some coriander there that has seeded, all gone to flower and then is going to go to seed. Really good for insects, so I've left that. And then I've got here lots and lots of spring onions and white onions that are just doing their thing. These spring onions are called Lilia. I always grow them. They're multi-sown, so you can see, it's probably the easy one. You see how they spread away from each other. So all you need to do to pull one out is just gently, if I can do that while we're on the video with one hand, just gently twist it away. There you go, look at the colour of that. Absolutely beautiful plant to grow. It better come out now, otherwise I'll forget about it. Yeah, Lilia, I always grow it. Great spring onion. So these are all spring onions. They're really thick, really ready to go. In fact, I've probably grown too many, but there we go. Always the way. And then I've got some white onions here, which, to be totally honest, I can't actually remember which ones they are. This happens every year. I do put a label down. Don't know where it's gone. Now they're either little white pickling onions or they're big Spanish onions. Now I'm hoping from the size of them, because they're not that big, you can see my finger there, I'm hoping that they are the pickling ones, in which case they'll be perfect. Love pickled onions, so I do try and grow a lot of them. Next along is fennel. So this is one called Florence. I'm going to sow some more this weekend, so that will last me a little bit further on. But you can see how lovely that bulb is. Really thick, really chunky, and I love fennel, that's delicious. And I've got a few beetroots left from an early sowing. This is golden something. I'm so terrible with these videos because I can't remember any of the varieties, it's really bad. Yeah, really nice yellow beetroot and great for salads. Then following along the bed, lovely kohlrabi. A couple of those bolted this year. I've not had that before. They went to flower, and I presume just the hot weather and fighting for moisture has made them bolt. But this one, well, I've got a few left, but this one looks like a beauty. Look at that, it's just like a little spaceship. And then the brassicas here, I've had mixed results with those. I'll just hold it up here because I can't get under the net. It's netted really for the pigeons. I use a spray called Bacillus thuringiensis maybe 3 times a year, and that keeps the caterpillars at bay, but otherwise it doesn't harm anything, so it's kind of a biological control. This is not a spring cabbage, this is a cabbage called greyhound and early cabbage, and then I've got some cauliflower under this netting here. Now you can see that one has failed. It's flowered, but it's not formed that lovely head, so that really needs to be pulled now. Which is a shame, but again, this crippling hot weather that we've had down here has really sort of played havoc a little bit. But you can see in there, very cute, that's a cauliflower coming. Delighted about that. Just see it through the netting. I grow a small cauliflower called Snowball, so they don't get too big. I've got some broccoli, calabrese just starting up there, and that's broccoli as well. This is some parsnip seeds, or some parsnips that I left to go to seed. I don't actually really grow a lot of parsnips. They're at my other plot anyway, because you can just leave those alone. But I do sell seeds, and the more I can sell from my garden, the better. This is absolutely delicious for insects, and you can see it's covered in little bugs. Hopefully you can see that, little black bugs. Once that goes to seed, I can then harvest that to sell on my subscription. So that's the reason that's staying there. And then back here, this bed you would have seen before is bang up against this laurel, and apparently laurel has, well, it's got cyanide in it for a start, but it inhibits growth of other things that are around it. So I do struggle a little bit, but sort of salads do quite well because I think it's more of a shady spot. I've got some, this is chard, and then following on from that I've got some celery, and then I've just planted some more chard down here. So I had some chard more in the sun, and that's bolted. This is kind of second sowing. This is a bit of French sorrel that's perennial, comes back every year, so that's just been hacked back, so it looks a bit of a mess, but that will sprout back at no time. Oh, there's a pig there. Yeah, so chard there, lettuce, second round spring onions, so they'll take over when those other big ones have been finished, and then some ridiculously pointed lettuce that has obviously potted. So this is a cost lettuce, as standard, grow too much, never get to eat it, so that's bolted. But I'll probably leave those ones to go to seed for the minute until I need the space, and I've got some more that I've just sown anyway. So that's the veggie beds there. Let's just walk down here. Oh, this cercis here, absolutely divine tree. It's quite small because obviously it's under the oak, but look at the colour of that, and the leaves, they're so cute. They're like heart-shaped. But it's right in front of my shed, which means I have to totally duck down to get into the shed, which is a little bit annoying. So in here is kind of like a nursing place for all my brassicas to come. They are due to go out in the bed. I don't know where I'm going to fit them. I think they'll probably go in where the carrots, where the garlic and the red onions are. So once they're out the way, then these can be planted. So I've got some, what is that, Romanesco that was sown at the middle of June, so not that long ago. Brussels here. This is kale, and then I think that is Cavolo Nero there. This one looking a bit off colour because I've just replanted it. Obviously its colour's just gone because its nutrients have disappeared, but that is purple sprouting broccoli. That will obviously be harvested next year. A few leftover flowers, and then here I've got a second sowing of red cabbage. I've got some Savoy and some kale there, that's coming. A few more brassicas, some Verbena bonariensis. My garden loves this stuff, so it's a really beautiful flower. But it self-seeds everywhere, so I dig these up and put them out on my sale bench out the front of the house. I've got some beans. These are sown 15th of June as well, so just fairly recently. I think it's like the 24th today. They're already coming up. There's some French beans and some runner beans. So the idea is that essentially when I cut down those peas, they can take over. And then I've got some Brussels here. Now these, actually this is purple sprouting broccoli. I don't know why these are looking so ill. Let's take those off. I think it's just a case of they've been replanted and they just need to get going. Sometimes the leaves go off colour when, like I said, when the nutrients have been depleted, but I have just repotted those, so hopefully give them a bit of time and they'll perk up a little bit. And then this is kind of a mismatch of all sorts of things. I've got some cosmos, I've got some cornflowers. Weirdly, I've got some some chop suey, which is here. Never grown that before, I need to actually plant that out, that's well overdue. And some leftover dahlias that need to desperately go in some pots. And this is my carrot bed, which needs eating. So, does really well, the carrots. Let's see if I can get one. So these are small early carrots that really need to be harvested now. How cute is that? Yum, really yum. And it's just filled with sandy soil, so really easy for the carrots to grow. Let's just pop that there. And then let's go into the greenhouse. So The tomatoes have been doing really well, but not that I'm moaning, but the hot weather has played havoc to some of them, and weirdly some of them on this side have got more leaf curl than this side, and I can only assume it's because the sun comes across and hits this section of the greenhouse pretty much from midday onwards all the way through to the evening, whereas this side tends to get a little bit of a reprieve. So yesterday I put up this netting, and I'm a bit late with doing that because it was a bloody pain to do with the tomatoes so high, but anyway, I managed to get a ladder and pop it up, so that will just protect everything. I've only done it on one side because the sun comes from this side down there, so I don't need to shade it that side, and the more light I can keep in here the better. But they are producing loads of fruit, and yeah, I'm feeling really hopeful. So I love this. The smell in here is incredible, and I won't bore you with all the different types, but besides the fact I can't actually remember the names. I come in here every morning, I give the little flowers a little shake to help release the pollen. There's a bucket of water in here to help keep up the humidity, which is, you can see on the floor down there. And yeah, I'm trying to trim off some lower branches just to provide a bit of airflow. You know, some plum tomatoes there that are coming. These ones are great, beautiful colour. It's called Indigo Cherry, drop that one. So you can see most of these have got some really lovely sized fruits on them. And at the back I've got pots that are filled with different types of chilies. Underneath the table, really should get rid of that table, but underneath the table here I've got some peppers, sweet peppers, self-sown calendula, some cosmos. These all help encourage all the pollinators in. The more pollinators I can have in here, the better. And obviously they'll help pollinate these lovely flowers. So yeah, they all get a little bit of a shake, and sometimes I do spray them because that helps set the pollen in the morning. I work full time, so today is a slightly more relaxed day, so they'll probably get full 5-star treatment today. Look at this one. That is incredible. So this is a tomato that I love, that sort of fuzzy, I don't know if you can see that well, that fuzzy blushness you get on the top. There you go, look at that. So cool. That's a tomato I brought back from an organic farm in Ibiza, and it tasted amazing. I don't know what type it is. Somebody said it looks like ox heart. It may well be, but anyway, it's definitely heart shaped, which is quite cute. And I've got a mixture of, you know, beef ones and cherry ones. I kind of use more big tomatoes than small. Cherry ones are nice just to eat straight off the vine, obviously, so that's always nice to have. This is one called Black Beauty. That's looking good. It's got so many flowers on it, so I hope they all do get pollinated. I'm getting some flowers that are dropping there, that are dropping off. You can see here, you see that there. So those have dropped off there, and that's basically because the flower hasn't been pollinated. So it's always quite disappointing as a gardener when that happens, but generally you will get some of that on every plant that you grow. And that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed the little tour. I'll be back, well, probably in a month's time or so. Interesting, actually, just one point to make here. Now, nasturtiums not only taste amazing when you eat them in a salad, so you can eat them raw, or the flowers raw, but they serve a purpose. So cabbage white butterflies that obviously decimate your cabbages. I've obviously sprayed my cabbages with that biological control, but instead I've grown this nasturtium. Now this, you can't see them now because they've actually gone, but this was covered in cabbage white butterfly larvae, so it was covered in caterpillars essentially, and it just means that you can give the caterpillars something to eat without decimating your actual crop. So this nasturtium, although it looks scrappy and has hardly any leaf left, basically fed all those caterpillars and kept that cycle going. So growing as many flowers as you can does really help. You know, they've had something to eat, and that makes me happy. This is alyssum as well, smells absolutely divine, such a sweet smell and really cute to grow alongside the edges of the tomatoes. And then, I don't know whether I've just shown you already, I haven't actually, down there, little basil, hopefully they'll grow up soon in between, and I've obviously got at the back some marigolds there to deter any pests. Right, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the view. Have a lovely, lovely weekend, and see you soon. Oh, and just one last thing. I wanted to show you these tomatoes. Now, normally, all my tomatoes are kept inside. Every year I just grow them in the greenhouse. This year, I have put some huge pots outside, mainly because I had so many varieties, and grow them outside. You know, like I said about 1,000 times, the weather's been really hot here, and these are looking fab. I mean, they're looking so healthy. I'm so delighted with them. I mean, they're full of flower, and yeah, the leaves are just super green. They're in these big pots like those aubergines are, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing if these come to fruit and what happens. I mean, there are some you can see just through there. Cute, just getting some fruit. You know, growing them outside is a risk with blight and stuff, but oh, I've just seen that. This is Black Beauty. Look at that, so exciting. You know, comparably to the greenhouse, these actually look a bit healthier. Probably because of the extreme temperatures, they're not getting that fluctuation between absolutely stiflingly hot. They're kind of being kept on an even keel. You know, some of this discoloration here is probably because they are lacking a few nutrients, but they do get fed, so hopefully that will keep any worries at bay. But yeah, these look fantastic. I'm delighted. Anyway, there we go. Just wanted to show you those.